Hello guys, this is Prof and welcome to Tech Foundation Africa. This is another video for our Python for Data Science tutorial series. In this video, I'm going to talk about the string data type. Traditionally, strings are a sequence of characters, either as literal constants or some kind of variable. Now, in Python, there is a built-in class named str, which serves as the blueprint for strings, and it comes with many handy features. Python strings are Unicode by default. Now, the Unicode system is a system that has been designed to represent all characters from almost all languages. Now, in the Unicode system, each letter or character is represented as a 4-byte number, and each number represents a unique character. There is also the ASCII system, which represents each character or letter as a byte number. So the ASCII system has very limited characters, with about 256 in all, and these characters are usually the characters in the English language. Now, in Python, unlike C++, strings can be delimited by single quote, double quote, or triple quote. Let's move to the interpreter so that I can demonstrate what I'm talking about. So, we launch our interpreter through the command prompt. Okay, so in Python, like I said, if I want to store a sequence of characters, being it name, a sentence, a statement, so something like Eric, I can delimit or wrap it in single quotes, or I can wrap it in a single quote. Sorry, I can write it in a single quote, or even triple quotes. The triple quote could be single triple quotes or double triple quotes. So I can also do, and it works. However, the triple quote is used when the string is a multi-line string. That means the string spans more than one line. So for instance, if I want to do something like a lion has a tail, it has a big head and a very small waist. Okay, good. So such a thing can be delimited by triple quote. Okay, now you realize that by default the /n escape sequence has been inserted automatically. Okay, and remember, it can be single triple quote or double triple quote. However, I can still do multi-line string using single or double quote. For instance, I can do a lion, but then if I hit enter, I'm going to get an error. Okay, so to do multi-line strings, or to store strings that span more than one line using single quotes, the trick is to append a backslash at the end of the string. So a lion, then a backslash, a lion has a tail, another backslash, it has a big head and a very small waist. Okay, so now that I'm done, I hit enter and we have exactly what we want. But take note, here you don't have the /n or the new line escape sequence inserted by default. So you can see that over here I did not leave spaces and the words have been concatenated. You can also do the same thing with double quotes. Okay, I happened to start programming with C++, then I moved to C#, then I went to Java. So I am used to using double quote to represent strings, because in C++ and Java we delimit strings in double quotes. Single quotes are used for characters. So in order to stay safe and not to have that mix up when I'm doing C++ programming, I just decided to use double quote for my strings, with the exception of when I have to do multi-line strings, where I stick to using the triple quote method. When using single quotes, you can conveniently put in double quote and vice versa. Let's say I have a statement. I want to say something like prof said, and I want to quote prof. Okay, so prof said, I will leave by dawn. Okay, because I am using double quote to delimit the entire string, I am allowed to use single quotes within. Is that okay? The same way, if I use single quotes to delimit my entire string, if I use single quote to delimit my entire string, then I can use double quotes within. Is that okay? And you can use both single quotes, double quotes in a triple quotes string or multi-line string. However, it is still possible to use single quotes within single quotes and double quotes within double quotes. All you have to do is to use the escape backslash on it. So for instance, if I want to use the single quotes delimiter and do prof said, but then I want to use a single quote, all I have to do is to use this backslash on it, and I can go ahead with what I want to do. Okay, so I'll need another backslash, and then finally my closing single quote. So when you are doing this, be very careful so that you don't mix things up, because the moment any of the quote is out of place, then you are going to have errors to deal with. Okay, so the same way, if I want to do double quote within double quote, then all I have to do is to escape it. And everything, it's fine. So please, when you are learning programming, one thing you have to do is to pay attention to these things, because these are the very things that you would have to put together creatively to come up with those complex software systems that you would like to design. In a previous video, I mentioned mutation of variables, and I said that strings, Python variables, most Python variables are not mutable. So for instance, string and tuples are not mutable. However, a list is mutable. So what this means is that for strings and tuple, once I create them, I can't change the value. Okay, once you create a variable and you are not allowed to change the value, then we say that that variable is not mutable, or that object is not mutable. The same thing applies to strings. Once you create a string, you can't mutate it. Is that okay? You can't mutate. Any attempt to change the value of the string will create another object in null. So for instance, I can do, if let's say I have name equals to prof, and I want to do something like this, name at index 0, then I want to assign it to, let's say, a small p. You see that Python throws an error, and the error says type error. str object does not support item assignment. Now what this means is that you are not allowed to change the value of a string once you create it. Is that okay? Since strings are merely a collection of characters, the characters can be accessed by using the indexing operator, just as it can be done in C++ and Java. So for instance, I created a variable called name and it has been assigned to the value prof. If I want to access the first character, all I have to do is to supply the index of that character within this indexing operator. Now string indexing in Python starts from 0. Okay, so P is at index 0, R is at index 1, O is at index 2, F is at index 3. So if I hit enter, I get P. The same way, if I want to access O, I can do something like name at index 2 and that'll give me an O. You are also allowed to do negative numbers. Negative numbers allows you to negative indices allow you to access the string element or the characters in the reverse direction. So for instance, if I do name -1, that will give me an F. So you see that now it is accessing the characters from the reverse direction. So that means I can access O with a positive index 2 and also a negative index -2. So if I do name -2, it will give me O. If I want to access R, that would be name -3 to give me R, and the same R can be accessed using name index 1. Is that okay? So you are allowed to do string indexing to access the characters in a string. Now one thing you have to notice that when you create a string, let's say Eric, let me create an assignment. Name now points to Eric Obin. Okay, whenever you create a string, the empty spaces that you supply are also part of the string. Is that okay? You also have index or positions. So for instance, if we count, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so if I do name at index 4, see that I get an empty space. So you have to take note that the spaces that you put in a string forms part of the string, and you should pay attention to them. So what would happen if I try to access an index that does not exist? For instance, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so if I try to do name at index 11, what do you think would happen? Well, Python is going to throw an index error, and the message says that string index out of what range. Is that okay? So whenever you come across this error, know that you are trying to access an index that does not exist in either a list, a tuple, or a string. One thing we usually do in string manipulation is called slicing. Slicing is just a means of creating smaller strings out of a bigger string. So in other parlance, you see words like substrings. Is that okay? So I have a main string and I want to create substring. So for instance, the name variable is assigned to Eric Obin. Now assuming this is my full name, the first one is my first name and the second one is my last name. So assuming I want to separate these names into their respective variables. So let's create a variable f name, and I want to separate just the Eric into f name. I can use a method called slicing, which allows you to create substrings out of a string, and it is simple. The way you do it is by using the name of the string, then you provide two numbers separated by a colon. Now the first number represents the start position Is that okay? And the second number represents the end position. However, the first number, which represents the start position, is always included. The character there is always included in the substring, whereas the second character, which represents the ending position or the stopping position, is excluded. So for instance, if I want to extract Eric from Eric Obin, then I need to start from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Now if I make my ending position 3, that is going to omit the C. So if I do F name, you realize that I don't have the C. So this is because the value that you provide, the index that you provide for the second parameter is excluded. Is that okay? So that means that if I want to extract the whole of the Eric, then I have to end at what? Position 4. So now if I print out, I have the full Eric. So you realize that I've been able to take I've been able to create a substring out of what? The main string. The same way, if I want to extract Obin into S name variable, then I can do, remember, so the start point would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which represent the space here. So O, which will be included, starts from position 5, okay, then to the end. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So to 9. Remember, 9 is what? I want 9 included. So that means I have to end at position 10. Now, if I print S name, I have what? Eric. So now F name variable holds Eric, S name variable holds Obin. So I have kind of sliced the main string, which is name, into various parts using these techniques. Now there are various ways you can employ these techniques. For instance, by doing Eric, by reading Eric, I could have done something like F name equals to name. Now if I omit the first parameter, if I don't supply any first parameter, by default it means that Python should start from the beginning. Is that okay? So if I omit the first parameter and then supply the second, then it means that starting from the beginning and ending at position 4. And if I print name, yes, I still get my Eric. Is that okay? The same way S name, I could have done it like this. I could have use this form. So this time I will supply my starting point and then omit my ending point. However, let me point to you that there is a space at the end, so just ignore that space for now. But then by doing this, I'm telling Python that, hey, I want you to start from the character at position 5 up to the end of the string. And if I hit enter and print out the value, you see that I still have my Obin. So what do you think would be the result of name without any start or first parameter? Well, this means that Python should start from the beginning to the end. There is also something called striding. Now, striding, it's done by supplying a third parameter in a string in a slicing operation. Now, by default, this third parameter is set to 1. So let's look at an example. Let's say I have a sentence. It says the quick brown fox. Now, if I do sentence, start from index 0, end at let's say index 8. Yeah, I think we have that much. And I provide a stride parameter of 2. See what happens. Let's see. So T is obviously the first index, that is index 0. Is that okay? Now by default, it should have extracted from 2, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that okay? So it should have extracted these particular characters, but we don't see that. The output is different. So what is really happening? What a stride parameter does is, when it extracts the character, by the 2 means it should jump, it should move to the second, so it should jump, okay, it should jump to the second parameter from the first one, or after the first one that it's extracted. So since it extracted T first, by jumping to, that means it skips H and it extracts what? The E. Then after extracting the E, it skips the space and extracts the Q. Then it skips U and extracts I, skip C and extracts what? Oh, okay, it skips C, but then since the ending point is 0, it's 8, it ends here, and that is the response or the result that we are doing. So let's say we have a number that is represented as a string. So let's say 1020430505060. Is that okay? We have something like this, and we perform number. So we want, remember, when I omit the parameter, the first parameter, it means it should start from the beginning, and I'm also omitting the second parameter, which means it should go to the end, and I'm supplying a stride parameter of 2. Now see what happens. So this removes all the zeros from the numbers, okay? It removes all the zeros. I'm not saying that this every stride operation that you perform is going to remove zeros, but then it's because of how I have arranged the stride. That's why we are having this effect. So if I change the stride to 3, then we have a different thing. So for this one, it's first extracted 1, skip, moved 0, 1, 2, extracted this 0, 1, 2, extracted 4, 0, 1, 2, extracted 0, then 0, 1, 2. There is no third parameter, so it returns 10, 40. You can also do negative strides, okay? You can also do negative stride, and something that I enjoy so much is your ability to reverse an entire string using negative strides. For instance, if I do number and empty strides and provide -1, okay, see what happens. It actually reverses, okay, it reverses the number, and this is a cool thing to do. So let's do something like name equals to professor. Now if I do name and do negative stride of 1, whoops, it does what? It reverses it. So this is just a simple trick that can come in handy when you want to do string reversing or something. Another way you can manipulate strings, and another means of manipulating strings, is by concatenating them. For instance, we have variables f name equals to Eric, and we have s name equals to Obin. Now if I do f name plus space plus s name, see, I get what? Eric Obin. So the addition sign here is operating as a concatenation operator. So it first takes the value of f name, then appends a space to it, and then append what? The s name to it, so that we have the Eric Obin spaced by the space that we placed in there. However, if you have a Java background, you realize that in Java I can do f name plus, let's say, 4, okay? And what Java will do is it will automatically typecast this 4 from the numeric type to a string type. However, Python is not going to do this for you. So if I hit enter, I'm going to get an error which says that type error. So can only concatenate string, not int to string, okay? So how do you do this? Well, there is a way you can do this, and that would involve you first typecasting Typecasting is just a process of converting a value from one type to another. Okay, so if I wrap this 4 in a string, in this string for str function, then it is going to first convert 4 into a string, so that now I can perform the concatenation operation. So I want you to take note. Anytime you have to concatenate a string with a non-string variable or type, make sure you use the str function to first convert that type into a string before the concatenation can occur. If you don't do that, then you are always going to get this error. And by default, when Python encounters an error that has not been handled, it will stop execution. Python also allows you to repeat strings. For instance, we know fname contains Eric. What if I want to do it multiple times? So I want to repeat Eric multiple times. Well, Python allows you to do fname times, let's say 5. So here, the 5 is the number of times that I want to repeat the string. Is that okay? And the operator that you use is the multiplication sign. So if I hit enter, you see that we have Eric 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The same way, if I do fname times 1000 or 100, then Python is going to repeat that string number of times. So I think this is a cool thing. It's a cool feature in Python, and I love it very much. Also in Python, you can check whether a string contains another string. Okay, let's say I have a sentence. So the sentence contains the quick brown fox. Okay, now I want to check for the presence of the word quick in the quick brown fox. Python allows you to use the operators in and not in, okay, to do this job, and you can throw this in any logical operation and do something awesome with it. So for instance, I can do if quick in sentence, and remember I have already declared the variable sentence, and this is its content. Okay, if this is true, then I want you to print out quick is in sentence. Is that? Yes. And so you see we have what? Quick is in sentence. Is that okay? Because actually quick is in what? The quick brown fox. So, and the other way is by using the not in. Okay, if I say not in sentence, what do you think would happen? Now if I say if quick not in sentence, that means it will rather be true if there is no quick. Is that okay? So let's continue. If quick not in sentence, print out hi there missing. Okay, hi there missing. Is that okay? Else print hooray, it is there, just to be funny and dramatic. Okay, so now if I hit enter, we get what? Hooray, it is what? There. So just understand when to use not in and in. So not in to check whether that thing exists or not, and not in to check whether the substring is not available in the given string, and in the opposite. So black list, white list, whichever way floats your boat, you can use it accordingly. Python provides a lot of built-in methods and functions that can be used to manipulate strings. A method is a function that has been defined in the class of the object, whereas functions are just procedures that are defined externally and can act on an object to perform an operation. Is that okay? So for instance, if I have a string called fname. Is that okay? let's set f name to capital E Eric. Is that okay? So now f name has capital small e, sorry, f name is now all in lowercase. Now I want to capitalize the first letter so that it becomes a capital E. Now I can call a function like capitalize, okay, and see that the result is a string that has the E toggled to an uppercase. Is that okay? Now whenever you use the dot operator to call a function on an object, then that function that you call is called a method. Is that okay? It's called a method. On the other hand, if I want to know the length of this f name object, the length, that is how many characters it is made up of, I can call an inbuilt function called length and pass it f name. So you see that it returns the value 4. This is because the f name contains the value Eric, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 characters. Is that okay? Now you realize that the len function, I did not use the dot operator like I did for the capitalize. So this is just a function, but this is what? A method. So that is the differences between a method and a function. A method is just a function that has been defined on a class. Is that okay? So anytime you are calling methods, then you'll be using the dot operator, something something dot something, then you know that you are using what? A method. So like I said, Python comes with a lot of built-in methods and functions, and I cannot treat all of them in this particular video. So what I will recommend is that you take a look at the Python documentation to read more about these methods and functions. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is string formatting. Now, formatting a string can be done in many ways. One way is by using the modulo or interpolation operator. So in programming, this percentage sign, we call it the modulo operator, and in Python it is also used for string interpolation. Now to use this method, all you have to do is to use the modulo operator together with a character as a placeholder for a value that you want to interpolate or insert into a string. Okay, so for instance, if I want to print out, remember we still have the f name variable defined. So if I want to print out something like if I want to do f name plus space plus is, I can actually do this, is a great man. Okay, if I want to print this, you see that I had to use the concatenation operator, and then it's not cool. A much cooler way of doing it is by using the interpolation technique. So I will do that, and since the value I want to insert into the string is a string, is of type string, I will use the percentage or the modulo sign together with the character s, which represents string data types or string types. Then I can go ahead with is a great man. Okay, now once I'm done, the next thing I have to do is to bring the interpolation operator, and please take note that comes after the closing quote. Okay, after the closing quote, and then I will supply the values that I want to insert. So in this case, I want to insert the name, the f name value. Okay, then finally I can close the parentheses for the print, and if I hit enter, you see that this value or variable has been substituted for percent s. So you can do a whole lot. You can do a whole lot with this. So let's look at this. So for instance, say the percent s fox jumped over the %x dogs. Okay, all right, then followed by your %sign, then the list of the values that need to be inserted. And please don't take note, the list should follow the order of the placeholders. Is that okay? So what I want to insert is the quick fox, or yeah, so let's just say the quick fox, comma, jumped over the lazy dogs. Okay, then the closing parenthesis for the print. And if I hit enter, realize that now we have what? The quick fox jumped over the lazy dog. So this is what we call string interpolation, and it's a way of formatting strings. Is that okay? Without having to do all those concatenation operations. Now this method is what was originally done in Python 2. Okay, the Python 2 version, and then they kind of it kind of made its way into the Python 3. However, there is a better way of doing string formatting in Python 3, which I will talk about in another video. I will make a separate video to talk about that. So remember I said that we have characters representing the types of data. Yes, so if you want to represent an int, you use the character D. So %d means that you would like to interpolate or replace this particular position or value by what? An integer. You can also use O to represent octal or base 8 values. You can use X to represent base 16 or hexadecimal values. You can use F to represent floating point numbers, real numbers, numbers with decimal points. Okay, and you can use C to represent single characters. So let's take a look. So if I want to do something like print %s is %d years old. Okay, %s is %d years old, and the values that I want to interpolate. So %s should be a string, so professor, and the %d should be an integer, so 22. Okay, then finally I bring my closing parenthesis for the print function, and if I hit enter, I have what? Professor is 22 years old. Is that okay? Professor is 20. So what would happen if instead of an integer I insert a floating point value? Well, you see that it's still truncated, so the floating point, the decimal, the values after the decimal point does not make it. Is that okay? That is why if you have to represent this using a float, then the right character to use is what? F. And in this case, we have professor is 22.4500 years old. Is that okay? So like I said, there is a much better way of doing string formatting in Python 3, and it is very elaborate. It's very extensive, and I would like to dedicate a whole video tutorial on it. So thank you guys for watching, and see you in my next video. Remember, the name is Professor, and this is Tech Foundation.